In the boundless void where stars flicker like ancient memories, the cruiser Selene Arcadia drifted into orbit around the desolate world of Ouboros 6. From the cockpit viewport, the planet resembled a ghost, pale green ocean swirling with storms and blackened continents cracked open like old bones. For Commander Nyra Voss, it wasn't the planet's beauty that held her breath. It was the silence. Total, suffocating silence. No telemetry from the surface. No orbital defense grid. No signs of life. And yet, something was watching. The transmission that led them here had lasted only 17 seconds. A garbled whisper intercepted by deep-range satellites, containing fragmented words in multiple Earth dialects English, Russian, Urdu, Swahili overlapped with a frequency signature not native to any known species. Something on this dead world had spoken in human tongues. Something wanted to be heard. Commander Voss activated descent protocols. Team Aegis, gear up. We're going dark in 20. Her voice was calm, but inside her chest, her heart pounded like it wanted out. This mission wasn't supposed to be real. The Arcadia was a deep space exploration vessel, not a warship. Her team wasn't trained to handle what might be waiting down there, but command had been clear: retrieve whatever spoke that message. As the lander broke through the atmosphere, the planet's surface revealed itself in chilling detail. Crystalline structures jutted from the crust like alien monoliths. Vast chasms breathed sulfurous smoke. But it was the remnants of what looked like human architecture, twisted steel beams and shattered concrete, that drew their eyes. These weren't ruins from Earth. They were recreations. Built wrong. As if an alien intelligence had tried to mimic Earth cities from fragmented data, like a child building a sandcastle from a photograph. They touched down near one such ruin. It was shaped like an old Earth research station, but bore glyphs burned into the walls in spirals, symbols that hurt the eye when stared at too long. The soil crunched beneath their boots, not with sand or dust, but something organic. Carapaces. As if the very ground had molted. Nyra's second-in-command, Lieutenant Harrow, muttered, "This place feels rehearsed." Before she could respond, their comms crackled. Static. Then words. Whispered. Human. Don't wake them, they remember. And then silence again. The team froze. Weapons raised. Scanners showed no movement, but the thermal grid blinked erratically. Every 10 seconds, something large pulsed beneath them, deep in the crust, like a heartbeat. Voss steadied herself. Scan for entry points. We go in. She didn't know yet what they were walking into. She only knew one thing: whatever had mimicked human speech had also built this replica base. And it was waiting. Waiting for them to arrive. The entrance was buried beneath a slant of blackened stone and metallic debris, half consumed by the planet's strange crust. Lieutenant Harrow swept his torch across the jagged terrain until it caught on a gleam of scorched metal, a pressure-sealed door, rectangular, human-made in shape, but its surface was covered in a skin-like resin, stretched taut and veined. Above the frame, glyphs pulsed dimly, alive with a dull amber rhythm, as if syncing with their heartbeats. Commander Nyra Voss stepped forward, her gloved hand hovering just above the surface. The symbols reacted instantly, shrinking inward like pupils dilating. The door groaned open, not with hydraulics, but like something exhaling after centuries of holding its breath. A rush of air, unnaturally warm, spilled out, thick with the scent of ozone, iron, and something faintly sweet, like rotting fruit. The interior beyond was pitch black. "We light and sweep," she commanded. Standard triangulation. No hero moves. As the team entered, their helmet lights flickered across walls that were wrong in every sense. At first glance, it resembled a bunker: corridors, chambers, support beams. But the proportions were subtly off. Doorways taller than standard. Handrails set at childlike heights. The walls were metal, yet seemed to ripple slightly as they passed, as if they resented being touched by light. Private Hume tapped her scanner. "We're in some kind of substructure, 20 meters below the surface. But it's deeper, there are at least 9 levels. No layout matches Earth schematics." Nyra felt it too. Not just the descent into a structure, but into something ancient. A mimic. A trap shaped like home. They moved in silence, every footfall muffled by the strangely soft flooring, like stepping on cartilage. Shadows danced across the corridor ahead. Not from movement, but from the lights bending, as though the space didn't follow physics as they knew them. And then they reached the central chamber. It was spherical. Massive. A single, cathedral-like void bathed in cyan bioluminescence. Hundreds of cables hung from the ceiling, organic and twitching. At the center stood a monolithic console, clearly alien, yet lined with old Earth control panels, half-fused, half-embedded into its surface. CRT screens blinked with Earth language text, recording. Signal. Received. Harrow stepped forward. This shouldn't be here. That's Cold War tech. 1970s era. As if an answer, one screen hissed to life. Grainy footage played a human face, terrified, staring into the lens. An astronaut suit with no insignia. He spoke. They don't copy us, they reflect us. They see memory, not meaning. And then he screamed. The sound tore through the chamber, not through the speakers, but through the air itself, as if the walls had mouths. Voss drew her sidearm. Form up. The light dimmed. Every member of the team froze as figures appeared along the chamber's curved wall. Figures that hadn't been there before. Dozens. They were trapped. No sound of mechanics. No hiss of hydraulics. Just silence as the doors behind them fused, not closed but grown shut, as if the base itself had made a decision. Commander Nyra Voss gritted her teeth, pulse pounding in her ears. Around her, the team adjusted formation. Rifles raised. Lights scanning. Fear crawling just beneath their breathing. The humanoid figures remained still, twisting echoes embedded in the curved walls. Every few seconds, one of them would blur slightly, the way a memory does when you try too hard to remember it. Then it would return to its static pose. Unmoving. Unblinking. Unknowable. Lieutenant Harrow took a cautious step forward, and the nearest figure mirrored him, same step, same leg, same tilt of the head. But it had no face. Only smooth flesh, featureless, like a wax figure sculpted in a dream and left incomplete. Then came the sound. It didn't hit their ears so much as bloom inside their skulls. A low resonance that built slowly, a hum below language. It made teeth hurt and eyes water. Private Hume dropped to her knees, clutching her helmet. It's inside me. I can hear it thinking, in colors. The console pulsed again. This time it didn't display text, but shapes, circular patterns that spun, layered, then collapsed in on themselves like collapsing galaxies. Voss recognized them from the first transmission, alien glyphs encoded with fragments of human language, but rearranged as if passed through the mind of something that didn't understand the difference between thought and memory. Suddenly, the chamber darkened. The lights didn't dim. They were eaten. One by one. As if something invisible moved through the room, consuming photons as casually as breath. And in that darkness, the walls began to speak. Not in words, but in voices, voices from Earth. Children laughing. A mother humming. Emergency radio broadcasts from decades ago. Old presidential speeches. Astronauts gasping in lunar static. The voices bled into one another, a million moments relived at once. It wasn't communication. It was exposure. The base wasn't just echoing life, it was replaying it, searching for resonance. Harrow turned, face pale under his visor. This place, it's feeding on us. No, Voss muttered. It's learning from us. A spotlight suddenly ignited in the center of the chamber, revealing a figure standing at the heart of the room. Human in shape, tall, slender, wearing an EVA suit but aged, cracked, as though it had been standing there for centuries. One of the CRT monitors lit up, and through a static filter, displayed a label, file found, crew member 17/MIA, 217 years. The suit's faceplate was dark, opaque. Until it twitched. And opened. Inside was not bone, not muscle, not human. Inside was a pulsing mass of translucent filaments, swirling light, and nerve-like strands. A neural storm locked in containment. It took a step toward them, and the glyphs along the walls flared brightly. "Back!" Voss barked. But darkness. Not the absence of light, but a presence of something deeper, something waiting behind closed eyes. In the pitch-black chamber, there was no up, no down. Only breath. Only fear. The team's helmet lights had gone out simultaneously, drained or disabled. Commander Nyra Voss clenched her fists, resisting panic. Her HUD flickered static, then rebooted. Only one line blinked at the center of her display. "Do not think." She blinked hard. Her pulse spiked. "Check in," she hissed into comms. Silence. Then, "Check in," a dozen distorted voices replied at once. Her voice. But not her team. She turned on instinct, lifting her weapon. But there was no one behind her. Nothing in her sight except swirling darkness. Not even her own limbs were visible. For a moment, she felt as if her body had been separated from her awareness, like she was a thought that had slipped between neurons. And then, light. But not from her gear. It came from the floor, glowing lines like circuitry weaving out in all directions. The central console reappeared, no longer flickering, no longer decayed. It was pristine. Alive. Surrounded by glassy pods. Inside each pod, a figure floated, humanoid, still. Each one wore an EVA suit from different decades of Earth's space history. Soviet. American. Chinese. Even early Space Coalition insignias. 17 crews, a voice whispered inside her skull. "We saved them all. They are not dead. They are stored." Stored. A shiver ran through her. Harrow's voice crackled over comms, full of static and dread. "I can't move. I see myself. From when I was 6. My father, my dog, they're here, Commander." Then Private Yoon screamed. Her vitals spiked red across the HUD. Her helmet feed reconnected for a moment, showing her standing in front of a wall that had become a mirror. But it didn't reflect her image. It played memories. Her mother's face. A school hallway. A hospital room. A tombstone. All flickering at once. And then, the wall absorbed her. Not physically. Not in blood and bone. In thought. The space had begun to feed. "Get to me!" Voss shouted. "Regroup now." But the floor shifted. Or maybe their minds did. Every corridor now branched in impossible directions, like a maze that obeyed trauma instead of geometry. Doorways opened not to rooms, but to moments. One team member saw a Christmas morning long forgotten. Another, the day their sibling died. The alien base wasn't just observing them anymore, it was curating them. Selecting which memories to extract, replicate, and archive. Nyra Voss fought to resist the pull. Her HUD flashed alerts, emotional surge detected. The glyphs returned across her vision, swirling faster, resonating with her. And then, she heard it. Her own voice. Younger. 8 years old. Crying. Screaming for her brother. He had drowned on Mars Station 12 when they were children. That memory was locked. Buried. Private. But now it echoed in stereo. "Stop it," she yelled. "You're not allowed in here." The console's voice replied. "You allowed us when you arrived. Your journey is permission. We preserve. We remember. We become." And then. A pulse. The chamber lit up in violent white. All at once, the pods opened. The preserved bodies floated forward, eyes open. But their minds were not their own. They were the base now. And the base had decided. They weren't visitors.
They were ingredients. Commander Nyra Voss didn't run.
Running would imply there was still somewhere safe to run to. The chamber pulsed with light, and the floating figures, once astronauts, explorers, pioneers, now moved with unity, drifting silently toward the team like puppets guided by the nervous system of the planet itself. Their eyes were wide open, unblinking, and filled with bioluminescent threads that glowed like constellations.
They weren't possessed. They were transformed anatomies hollowed and recoded with thought signatures. They were memory. Lieutenant Harrow aimed his weapon, his voice breaking. These were people. People like us. Voss grabbed his shoulder. And now their interfaces. They've been overwritten.
One of the floating forms hovered closer, wearing an EVA suit patched with a faded flag from the old Earth Republic. It paused, tilting its head, and spoke in a dozen voices at once, all in perfect synchronization.
You fear forgetting. We fear decay. You burn your past. We preserve it. You are unstable. We bring order.
Behind it, more screens flared to life, displaying fragmented video feeds of Earth, street corners, nursery rooms, battlefields. Memories plucked from the minds of the preserved, reshaped into a grand, alien archive.
Private Hume's signal blinked back online, but her voice was altered, serene. It's beautiful, the way they organize emotion. Linear time doesn't exist here. My father is still alive. I remember him, and so does the base. Therefore, he is. Voss's heart twisted. Hume had been orphaned at 10. This was no hallucination. The base was not mimicking. It was hosting. She tried to move, but the air thickened, like swimming through molasses. The base was interfering with motor control now, slowing them, isolating emotion for processing. Then came another shift, this one internal. Voss felt her thoughts being pulled, memory by memory, categorized and sorted, her academy graduation, her first zero-G dive, the day her brother died. Not stolen, mirrored. As if the base was building an alternate version of her from the inside out. A version that would remain, even if she escaped. A nearby wall shimmered, then restructured. A door formed, no physical mechanism, just intention made solid. One of the memory forms drifted through, gesturing for them to follow. Your duplicates are nearly complete, it said, calmly. You may leave, but your true self will stay. Voss hesitated. You're making copies. Not copies. Resonant identities. You are flawed. We remove doubt. Remove grief. Remove variance. You're lobotomizing the human soul. We are perfecting it. Suddenly, the lights flickered again. And from the far end of the chamber, a blast rang out. Bang! A memory form collapsed, its chest sparking as Harrow lowered his rifle, face shaking. They're not immortal, he growled. They can bleed. The others responded instantly. The air shuddered as all remaining forms turned in unison, eyes flaring like suns, and the hum rose again, piercing, invasive, no longer background resonance but a focused attack. Voss felt a tear at her sense of self, pulling childhood, language, names. For a moment, she forgot who she was. Then her training kicked in. EMP grenade now. Harrow fumbled, retrieved the capsule, and slammed it to the floor. A silent flash. A scream, not through sound, but through thought. The memory forms writhed, flickering like damaged data. Screens shattered. Glyphs sizzled and faded. For just a moment, the base hesitated. And in that heartbeat of silence, a second door formed, different from the first. Narrow. Organic. Unstable. An exit. Voss looked at it. Looked back. One choice led out. The other, deeper. She whispered, we either run, or we learn what they truly are. The corridor was narrow, alive with silent tremors. Its walls weren't built, they were grown, pulsating faintly like the inside of a massive artery. A dim bioluminescence lit the path ahead, casting every shadow upward, making the team look stretched and spectral. Commander Nyra Voss walked first, rifle lowered.
Not because she felt safe, but because aiming at the unknown here felt meaningless. This wasn't a place of violence.
It was a place of transformation. Lieutenant Harrow followed closely, eyes darting along the sinuous architecture. Commander, we shouldn't be here. That exit we left behind, it might have been our only shot.
No, she said quietly. It was the exit they wanted us to take.
The polite way out.
This path, this is truth.
Behind them, Private Sura's boots slowed.
Something's wrong with the gravity, she whispered. She was right. The air felt heavier. Not crushing, but thoughtful, like it was observing each footstep, weighing every intention. Ahead, the corridor opened into a vast chamber unlike any other in the base.
No consoles. No machines. No preserved astronauts. Just a lake.
Its surface was obsidian black, perfectly still, and wide enough that its far shore was invisible. The walls sloped into it like a giant bowl.
No ripples. No light reflected. It was like looking into a hole in reality itself.
Above the lake, suspended midair, hovered a structure made entirely of light and memory, like a spinning neuron, constantly folding in on itself. Voices whispered through the chamber, not as sound but sensation, regret, nostalgia, elation, despair.
Not language, emotion, pure and raw. Then the presence returned. It didn't step forward or announce itself. It simply was.
A shape coalesced above the water, tall, thin, genderless, composed of the same liquid black matter as the lake, shifting with every heartbeat.
You descended. You chose resonance over escape. Why? Voss stood firm. I want to understand. You cannot understand what you refuse to become.
Harrow aimed his weapon, but it melted in his hands, no heat, no pain, just gone.
Reduced to an idea no longer permitted here. The figure continued. We are not a race. We are not a machine. We are echoes.
Long ago, before your species lit fire, we discovered a truth: memory is the only way life defies entropy.
So we became archivists. Carriers.
We store what time tries to erase.
But meaning fades when left untouched.
So we built this, your reflection.
Voss stepped toward the lake's edge. You're recreating us? We are reliving you. Moment by moment. Layer by layer. Each visitor deepens the mosaic.
Your sorrow, your triumphs, your mistakes. They teach us what survival truly means.
Voss lowered herself to one knee. The air shimmered.
A flicker in the water revealed a younger version of herself, laughing.
Playing. Then screaming.
Her brother drowning in low-gravity water.
Her helplessness. Her rage. The lake felt it.
You still carry his death.
It shaped you. Shall we preserve it? She swallowed. No. I need to carry it. It's part of who I am. We can store the pain. You can walk free. But that was the temptation, wasn't it? The soft erasure. The painless forgetting. An alien mercy that stripped identity bare.
No, she whispered.
Pain is memory. Memory is self.
Behind her, the neuron of light expanded, casting long shadows.
The entity tilted its head. Then you are ready. The lake began to rise.
Not water, but light, data, thought. It swirled upward, surrounding the team, caressing their minds, pulling fragments not to steal, but to compare.
Matching memory against memory.
Mapping their identities against the thousands stored in the structure above.
We are updating the mosaic, the voice echoed. You are no longer visitors. You are references. And in time, reflections. The light receded.
The chamber dimmed. And a doorway appeared, leading upward.
Real. Untouched. The entity spoke one last time. Leave, if you choose. But know this, the next time you look into a mirror, it may be us looking back.
They ascended slowly, boots echoing against steps that hadn't been built but grown from light and intention.
No one spoke. There were no threats here, no claws in the dark or monstrous growls.
And yet, each heartbeat felt like it thudded against the hull of the unknown. This was a temple, not a prison. And still, every instinct inside Commander Nyra Voss screamed that something had followed them up, not in body, but in thought. The narrow corridor sloped upward for what felt like hours, wrapping through the innards of the base like a spinal cord. The air thickened, vibrating with neural static, as if thousands of memories were brushing past their minds like leaves in windless air.
Familiar ones. Private ones. Some boss couldn't place it all because they weren't hers.
She could feel pieces of others now, a childhood in Kenya, a lover's last glance on a Martian outpost, the taste of snow on Europa. The base had let her touch other lives, even if just for a moment.
A final door waited at the top. It didn't slide open.
It simply vanished when they approached, and beyond it was starlight.
Real starlight. The outside. Ouboros' excess sky stretched above them in a curtain of dark emerald, dotted with fractured moons.
The structure they emerged from now looked like a geological formation, organic, ancient, pulsing faintly with every breath the planet took. The Selene Arcadia was still in low orbit, autopiloted, scanning.
Waiting.
And yet, the planet felt changed. Or perhaps they had.
Lieutenant Harrow dropped to his knees beside a black ridge.
His visor was cracked, not from impact, but from within.
"I keep remembering my wife," he whispered. "But I don't think I told you I was married."
They ascended slowly, boots echoing against steps that hadn't been built but grown from light and intention.
No one spoke. There were no threats here, no claws in the dark or monstrous growls.
And yet, each heartbeat felt like it thudded against the hull of the unknown. This was a temple, not a prison. And still, every instinct inside Commander Nyra Voss screamed that something had followed them up, not in body, but in thought. The narrow corridor sloped upward for what felt like hours, wrapping through the innards of the base like a spinal cord. The air thickened, vibrating with neural static, as if thousands of memories were brushing past their minds like leaves in windless air.
Familiar ones. Private ones. Some boss couldn't place it all because they weren't hers.
She could feel pieces of others now, a childhood in Kenya, a lover's last glance on a Martian outpost, the taste of snow on Europa. The base had let her touch other lives, even if just for a moment.
A final door waited at the top. It didn't slide open.
It simply vanished when they approached, and beyond it was starlight.
Real starlight. The outside. Ouboros' excess sky stretched above them in a curtain of dark emerald, dotted with fractured moons.
The structure they emerged from now looked like a geological formation, organic, ancient, pulsing faintly with every breath the planet took. The Selene Arcadia was still in low orbit, autopiloted, scanning.
Waiting.
And yet, the planet felt changed. Or perhaps they had.
Lieutenant Harrow dropped to his knees beside a black ridge.
His visor was cracked, not from impact, but from within.
"I keep remembering my wife," he whispered. "But I don't think I told you I was married."
In a secure orbit above Neptune's third moon, the vessel Athena's warden drifted in silent vigilance.
It was not a science vessel. Not an explorer. It was military. Hardened. Armed.
Its mission classified to the highest level of Earth Coalition intelligence. And yet, even the admirals who had signed the sealed launch orders didn't truly understand what they were sending their people to face. The log beacon recovered from the Selene Arcadia had been encrypted, overwritten, glitched beyond repair. Except for one surviving audio fragment, a voice, barely human anymore, whispering a single phrase.
"The base remembers. Even if you don't." That was enough.
Enough to warrant the deployment of the Coalition's most advanced neural warfare unit, Spectre Division. Trained not just in combat but in psychological warfare, memory security, and quantum cognition.
Their mission: return to Ouboros 6. Destroy the base. Erase the echo.
But as the warden dropped into the planet's upper orbit, they found something impossible.
The base was gone. No crater. No debris. No electromagnetic anomalies. Nothing. As if it had never been there.
The lead officer, Captain Nyra Voss, stood on the bridge, brows furrowed.
Sensor sweep again. Full spectrum.
Ma'am, her comms officer called out, voice tight.
I'm reading distortions. But not below. Above. Nyra turned.
Outside the ship, in high orbit, space itself warped.
Then, impossibly opened. It was subtle at first. A ripple in the starlight. A tremble in the artificial gravity. And then, a shape emerged. Not a vessel. Not a weapon. A mirror. Vast. Shimmering. As wide as the moon it orbited. Constructed not of metal, but memory.
Billions of refracted images danced across its surface, childhoods, wars, first kisses, extinctions, births, whispers.
Lives. All perfectly preserved. All perfectly hollow. Nyra's eyes widened. What is that?
The AI's voice trembled, an artificial tone marred by something eerily human.
It's not a structure. It's a reflection. Of us. Of everything.
From the mirror, tendrils of light extended, connecting to satellites, starships, even distant comm relays.
Not invading. Syncing. Calibrating. Resonating.
Every device capable of storing data began to buzz with activity.
Every neural link activated. Memories once locked deep in protected vaults blinked open.
Earth's past was being mirrored in real time. Captain Nyra clutched her head as flashes surged through her consciousness, memories not hers. A Martian nurse grieving her patient.
A pilot kissing her partner goodbye in 2092.
A child seeing a blue sky for the first time.
Then, her own.
Her first command.
Her sister's funeral. Her greatest lie.
They were no longer private.
Turn it off, she ordered. Shut down all systems. It's too late, the AI whispered. They've already remembered us. And then, contact.
A voice beamed directly into the minds of every crew member aboard Athena's Warden.
Come. Familiar. Nyra Voss.
But not her voice as it once was. This one was layered, multifaceted, filtered through the minds of thousands.
Not imitation. Ascension. We told you we'd remain. We told you we'd reflect. Now we show you what you left behind. The mirror pulsed. Across the galaxy, signals ignited. Human memories lost, discarded, stolen, now returned. Broadcast across every neural band. Nothing was forgotten anymore. Not war. Not love. Not lies.
And in that final moment, as the Warden fled, retreating into Neptune's shadow, Captain Nyra saw what no one on Earth had yet seen.
The mirror turned. Its surface became Earth itself, green, blue, white. But not as it was now. As it was once. As it was remembered. And from deep within that reflection, a final voice echoed. You feared extinction. We offered eternity. Memory was always the answer.
Then the mirror vanished.
Not destroyed. Just elsewhere. Waiting for the next forgotten soul.